Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Rock Talk with the Doc Rocker. I'm Jeff Bonello, joined with the Doc Rocker himself, Denton Arlotto. How are you doing? How is the Zoomiverse doing with you today?
Hello there, Jeff. The Zoomiverse is good. I haven't really been doing as much online stuff in the last couple of weeks, especially, since I've been vaccinated. As far as teaching goes, I've been going back out to all my kiddies' houses and getting on the road. So I still do a couple meetings online each week with a few families. And then, of course, we meet for these, but we even haven't done this in a while because the October's been crazy, between Halloween falling on a weekend, and both my parents celebrated their 60th birthdays. So we had a lot of weeks in a row that I was like traveling up north for all kinds of craziness. So I'm excited now we're back.
A little party.
Yeah.
A little party at my house. We drank a lot of beer.
Yeah. It was a nice haunted night of 1,000 beers, and it was amazing.
Right.
I had a lot of fun. I think my girlfriend had too much fun.
We are back right now with our homework. We're just going to do a homework assignment this week. We got two prog rock albums that we're going to review. Now, I thought I heard this one before, but I actually never did. You gave me Spock's Beard X or 10. It's their 10th album, so it's either
right.
X
So
or
it's
10
either. I think it's X, but I could be wrong. There's literally like an X on the cover, but it's cool. So
and I gave you Queensryche Rage for Order, which is another prog rock album that I'm sure you never heard that one before.
No, I never did.
Okay, who wants to go first? What do you want to do?
We could do X first.
Okay, let's do X first.
Let's talk about X. What'd you think?
Okay, Spock's Beard X. We'll get right down to my first impressions. Before we do that, let's a little background, because this I thought this was pretty neat. I found this out actually today. I took you gave me this album like 2 weeks ago, I think. So I listened to it a few times, and I went back and listened to it again this morning, actually, just kind of because I didn't listen to it for a couple of days. So I think I spun this 3 or 4 times, but this morning I found out when I was looking into like the background on the album, 10th studio album, released August 2010. The album was funded completely by pre-orders of a limited edition album before the album was actually even recorded. So it was almost like a Kickstarter kind of thing. Yeah.
That's really cool.
This is even better. Those who ordered the album's Ultra package had their names listed in the CD booklet and included in part of a track called Their Names Escape Me, which is an exclusive to the limited edition. It's not on the album I listened to, actually. It's
I never heard that song.
You can find it online. It's pretty neat. So that's a little bit of background on the album, which I thought was kind of interesting. I wanted to include that. Has nothing to do with the actual content of the album or the quality of the album, which is fantastic. Of course, it's Spock's Beard. My first impression, like always with Spock's Beard, you got a lot of old Genesis. You got a lot of Kansas influence on this one, I feel. Like it felt like the newer Kansas albums that you gave me to listen to. It felt a lot like that. Now, I also heard a lot of early 90s Rush, like their Counterparts album era. I felt there's a couple songs that really gave a couple nods to early 90s Rush, which I like early 90s Rush, so that was cool. It's a pity that Spock's Beard aren't mentioned as much as like Dream Theater. When people talk about great modern prog rock and prog metal, they should mention Spock's Beard. And this,
agreed, 100%. I think they're grotesquely underrated.
Oh my God. And this solidifies it, because I've listened to a lot of their albums. I haven't listened to them all, but so far so good. And I remember I introduced you to the one that I liked the most, and the one I was most familiar with was, I think, Day to Night, I think it was called, or something like that. That was the first one that I introduced you to. And then you came back and was like, yeah, we got to hear the rest of them. I'm like, well, I've heard Snow. I've heard a couple of one or two other ones, but I wasn't like a huge I don't even know why I didn't look more into this, because I should, because every time I've listened to another Spock's Beard album, it's been fantastic. It's been great. I like how like positive these songs sound and feel. They have like this, like, even like the darker ones that may even be like kind of lyrically not as positive, there's still this like bright feel to them. I guess it's like the production on it. It just really nice. It's real crisp. And Nick DiVergilio, I love him because he's an awesome drummer and he's an awesome singer. And this is actually the last album he played on until recently. I think he's back. He's like back and forth in the band, but he's not singing with the band anymore, I don't think.
No, just drumming for them. At least according to the wiki page I'm looking at now, he rejoined in 2017 as a drummer.
He's a fantastic drummer, man, and he's a great singer too. Which is like, I like singing drummers that can sing. Hey,
yeah, they're the best.
Now, it's about 80 minutes long, the album, somewhere around there, but there's not much waste in it. Like it's pretty much like, it doesn't drag. It opens with Edge of the In-Between. There's a cool synth and catchy melodies, complex breaks, really cool opening song, which reminds me of Kansas. Like when I heard that, I'm like, this is Kansas. It's just like, they're like, they take Kansas like this and like, right on our sleeve, here's Kansas. There's nothing wrong with that because it's
no,
really great.
I didn't think it was possible to do that. As big of a Kansas fan as I am, a big thing that I like about them a lot is that no one else sounds like them. And ironically enough, that's exactly what I love about Spock's Beard. Like, oh my God, these guys literally sound a lot like Kansas. They actually pull it off, and they do it well, but it's still easily distinguishable from Kansas. This is definitely...
Yeah, it's not... Yeah. It's not. They're not exactly like Kansas, but you can feel like they're Kansas.
They are fans. so similar, though, and I love that about them.
The next song that really turned me on was The Quiet House.
Ooh, that's my favorite.
Just for that drum beat, man. It just like, like flips every other measure.
They are masters of seven. They are so good. Like, they have so many songs that just have an awesome seven groove, which is amazing.
It's good.
And they consistently do it well, and it's so varied every time. It's so easy to have like a meter of seven like feel kind of tacky. Like, oh, okay, it's a prog rock band. Here we go. Here's something in seven. But they just so consistently pull it off and get these really nice grooving riffs. And The Quiet House is a perfect example of that. That's what I love about that song so much. I literally loop that song for hours. I can just listen to that one song from this album over and over and over again, and I never get tired of it.
I can see why. It's a great song. That's the one I've gone back to more and more. Is that one? Emperor's Clothes is really quirky, and it may put some people off the song, but I like it because like there's a nice like Beatles like harmony or melodies in it. Like vocally reminds you kind of in parts of like Beatles harmonies and melodies and stuff. But it's odd. It's like an odd song, but it made me remember it. And that's what I liked about The Man Behind the Curtain. That rocks. That song.
Yeah, that one's awesome. I like that one too.
If I want to show somebody Spock's Beard or like what modern prog hard rock would sound like, it's like Man Behind the Curtain is like right there.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. The rest of the whole album is good, but they're the ones that really stood out to me. Basically, this album, Spock's Beard X, is an example of what a good progressive rock album sounds like in the year 2010. 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah, even today, I think it still has a bit of a modern flavor to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been only 10 years, so whatever.
Yeah,
solid work, great album, and like if anyone out there that really likes prog rock and the usual prog rock, like if people are into Dream Theater, Rush, Old Genesis, Kansas, and you don't know about Spock's Beard,
please go listen to them. This album is on Spotify. A lot of their albums are on Spotify, not their entire discography, but there's definitely enough of a selection and they're all pretty different in style and flavor and personality that there's definitely something there for you. I know another one that we did in the past on another episode, we talked about Brief Nocturnes and Dreamless Sleep. That's another really good one. At least for me, these two, X and Brief Nocturnes, are easily my two favorites. I'm actually, no offense to all the Dream Theater fans, but I was really disappointed by the new one when I listened to it, when it released earlier it was back in October that it came out, wasn't it? It's already been that long. So since I listened to the new Dream Theater,
Weeks.
it didn't really scratch my itch for like really cool prog rock music. So I went back to Spock's Beard, and I'm kind of doing them as a palate cleanser and like going through like all of the albums I could find on Spotify. Because like I remember, and a lot of the time I'm like, wow, this is just so consistently better. I really think these guys are better than Dream Theater. I know that's a bit of a stretch, and that's a hot take, and it's a tall claim, but a lot, and even funny enough, I revisited Liquid Tension Experiment too, the third album that came out earlier this year, and the first couple tracks on that are dynamite, but the whole like second half of the album, it's like you have literally like the absolute best progressive rock musicians in the world all together in a band. There should be nothing in four. And like the last four songs are like these just 10-minute slugfests of they're just jamming. Like, and it's great, you know, they're great players, but like they're capable of so much more than that. So I was even disappointed revisiting that. So I'm like,
I haven't revisited it yet. I heard it, I listened to it when it first came out, because I know we did a little
we did for Passage of Time, which is the best song on the record.
And when the album came out, I checked it out, and I didn't really go back to it. But then again, with me and instrumental music, I have to be doing something else and have it playing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as Spock's Beard goes, man,
they're dynamite. They're just so consistent.
I actually enjoyed Brief Nocturnes a little bit more, I think, than X, but I got to listen to X again and again. Day for Night was my intro to them, which was their album back in 1999. That one, it just kind of like has I have a soft spot for that one. I think these other two that I heard, X and Brief Nocturnes, are better. Stylistically, musically, just all around better, stronger albums. But when I want to hear Spock's Beard, the first thing I go to is Day for Night. I also heard Snow. I think Snow was. I got to revisit that one, because I haven't heard that one probably since it was new. I remember getting that after I got Day for Night. I think I skipped over V5, the Spock's Beard 5. So I'm pretty sure this one's called 10. That one's called V5.
Yeah, it's probably 5. I don't think I've ever heard that one.
They're weird prog guys, so who knows?
Yeah, exactly. That's the beauty of it. You don't really know all of their artistic intent. There's a lot of mystery to it. And it gives fans a lot of stuff to talk about, It's a great album. It is a great album. Spock's Beard X is a fantastic album from beginning to end. Like I said, Brief Nocturnes, I just like that just a little bit better. Yeah, I can see that.
Not saying it's a bad. Not saying X is a bad album, because it's not at all.
Yeah, well, I will definitely be giving you more of these guys as listening assignments in the future. Your next one is probably going to be the Oblivion Particle, because I'm on that right now, and I'm really enjoying it. So anyway. They're just such they're really like a new favorite.
What are they doing now? Are they doing anything right now? Because it seems like the last.
I have no idea.
We better find out.
yeah, I'm gonna have to find out. Because their most recent album that's on Spotify, at least, came out in 2018. So like they're still making music. I don't know if they're. I don't even know if are they like the kind of band that like goes on tour regularly, or do they just do like studio album after studio album? I really have no idea. Yeah, I don't know really much of anything about them. I've just been consuming all of their music on Spotify ravenously, because it's all terrific. I mean,
it's pretty hard to tour right now anyway. So I mean, who knows? Hopefully, they're.
If they do tour, I'm totally going
like every other band is. There's so much new music coming out now, because as like
they're all stuck at home. Everyone
was stuck home for a year. I mean, they couldn't tour for how long? I mean, now the shows are starting to happen again. Yeah, to an extent, but there's still a bunch of musicians that are like, we ain't doing anything except sitting in the studio and writing stuff. So I think you're going to see, and this may not even be Spock's Beard, but I think you're going to see a glut of new music coming right after the new year. Like in 2022, there's going to be even more, like a huge flood of music.
I definitely could foresee another tidal wave of new albums from a lot of big bands.
Yeah. So,
that's awesome.
Hopefully Spock's Beard does put something new out, because I like these guys.
I'll grab it the day it drops.
More and more I hear them, and I'm glad I introduced you to them. So congratulations, or at least you got something out of this rock talk in the last year.
I've gotten a lot out of this. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move on to Queensryche Rage for Order. What did you think about that album?
This was rock solid from start to finish. Now, I only did... Now, the version I found had like a bajillion bonus tracks. There was like a live track and like a remixed thing. I didn't listen to any of those. I did just the 11 of the album. So I stopped with I Will Remember. There was not a single song on this album that I didn't thoroughly enjoy. I thought it was dynamite from start to finish. Everything about it was just so consistently good. For very different reasons than we just talked about for Spock's Beard being like super proggy and colorful and unique. This is unique in its own way, but like it's just like when you talk about like 80s rock, that sometimes carries a bit of a stigma to it that like, oh, it has like, it's kind of cheesy and it's got kind of a sound that if you're not like an 80s rock guy, you're not going to like it at all. This to me like sounds like your perfect like textbook definition of like what 80s rock could be and how it could be really, really good. I loved all of the sounds I heard from every aspect, given the drums, the guitars, the vocals especially. I knew I was going to like the singing going into this. I love the guy's voice. I love how he sounds. I love how he carries his voice. I love the melodies he creates with his voice. I love the sound of his voice in the mix. Everything about his voice is awesome. And it's on full display on every single track on this record. A lot of great catchy choruses. Especially like the opening track, Walk in the Shadows, right away I was like, ooh, there's an awesome chorus. I know I'm gonna like this whole album. And like by like the fourth or fifth track, I was like, yep, just give it all 5 stars. Give it all, put little hearts on every single one on Spotify, and I'm just gonna, as soon as they come up, I'm gonna give them a like. The guitar playing is really, really good in that it's tasteful. There's a lot of There's a lot of like this really like rich texture in the guitar parts, in that it's a lot more than just like chucking away at chords and like playing shreddy crazy solos. Like there's a lot of like really nice nuance and line to the guitar playing that the guitar, it could easily be an instrumental and it would be still interesting, you know. The drum beats are varied. The tempos are varied. There's a couple of slow songs, but none of them are snooze fests. You know, they're all interesting. They all have really nice melodies to them. I felt like the album was extremely fast paced. You know, a lot of the songs are really short. And I think that's a good thing. It just keeps moving. And as soon as like you feel that like maybe you would kind of start to get tired of a song, you're on to the next one. So Surgical Strike was awesome. That was another favorite. London was the longest song, and I thought it was going to feel long, being the only track that's over 5 minutes. But next thing I looked down at my phone and it was over. You know, like the whole thing just moved so fast for me, at least on the first. Like I just listened to it today. I went in blind, as I always do. I didn't look anything up about what the album is like or what it's about or who's on it or reception or anything like that. I just jumped in blind and I just went track to track. Okay, this one's called this and here's what it sounds like. And oh, I like that. And it was rinse repeat all the way down until the very, very end. Even like the closing track, I Will Remember, was beautiful. It had a really nice melody to it as well. Melody, I think, is the key word for this whole album. Like every single song has an abundance of catchy melodies that are really nice. They're very varied. There's a lot of variation in mood, I feel, especially given some of the tracks go right into each other. I don't know if it's like a concept album or if it tells some kind of story or what, or if they're all sort of interconnected. But I felt like from track to track, there was a lot of variety. Like some of them feel like, you know, upbeat, fast, fun, happy-go-lucky rock, and some of them are a little darker and more serious. Especially another favorite was Gonna Get Close to You. I really liked everything about that song. The opening hook, the chorus, that's a really cool song. And again, every aspect of the band was fantastic. There was not, it's just one of those, like, it's kind of like the Bruce Dickinson Chemical Wedding album we talked about a couple weeks ago, where like you have to listen to it to like understand when people talk about something like an album like this that's just such a piece of musical perfection that like literally everything about it is good. Every song is really good. Every part of the band synergizes exceptionally well. You know, it's not like, like, oh, the singer is awesome, but he's backed by this kind of like, mediocre band, or like, oh, this guitar player is terrific, but he's like kind of in this, he's just kind of drowning in this pool of mediocrity. Here, like every single piece of the puzzle fit together, at least for me, perfectly, and it delivered a solid listening experience that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I will definitely revisit. Especially now, I'll look into it. You could probably tell me a lot more about what it's about and where it comes from and all that kind of stuff. But
Well, let me ask you this: do you
yeah.
know where it falls in their discography? Do you know like when they released this compared to the
Well,
other
I
ones
know
we've
it
heard?
says 1986 is when it came out, right?
Right.
That's
So
about all I know.
this was their second full studio album. They did one album before called The Warning and an EP, the original Queensyrche EP. So this
Okay.
album was the one that precedes Operation Mindcrime. This is one they made before Operation Mindcrime. And the reason why I mention that is because I feel this album is like, first of all, it's more progressive than the first two things they did. The EP and The Warning. Rage for Order is way more progressive. Like the EP was more straightforward, like you said, like 80s metal. Like they'd be right, like how Dio writes. His 80s metal is straightforward stuff. That's what a lot of Queensryche was back then. There was a little flourishes here and there of what to come. But basically, Rage for Order, to me at least, and a lot of other fans of early Queensryche, that was the precursor to Operation Mindcrime. Everything they did on this album was like to set the stage musically for what they did next with Mindcrime. Like they kind of pushed it up a notch with Mindcrime. I think personally, like lyrically, musically, and everything, like just pushed it a little bit more. Like, but you can't have Operation Mindcrime without having Rage for Order, which is a fantastic album in its own right. I'm actually surprised you liked it as much as you did. I was thinking you're gonna be like, I don't know about it, but
no, that was solid.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's kind of like Iron Maiden Killers set the stage for Number of the Beast.
Yeah.
Rage for Order sets the stage for Operation Mindcrime and Empire. And it just, they just the jumping off points of even lyrical themes, social, personal, political, all that stuff is in Rage for Order, and they just kind of flesh it out in Operation Mindcrime and do the whole big story and stuff. Three songs I really, really love. I love the whole album, but the three songs that when I listened to it again this week that stuck out to me again, it was, of course, Walk in the Shadows. It's a great opener. It's like a straight up metal number with over the top vocals, a catchy chorus. But the one I really love is The Whisper, which is I think it's the third track. It's the second track is I Dream of Infrared, that goes right into The Whisper.
Yes.
Like you were mentioning, the tracks go into each other. The Whisper has this great but not standard type of drum groove that's kind of like real staccato and real like kind of like choppy, but the guitars go along with it. It's different. It has such a cool, different groove to it. And vocally, it's just, it's probably the most aggressive you ever hear Jeff Tate sound is on this album. Like he sings his heart out. Because in later years, he kind of turned his back on the metal god kind of thing. But here, he's just like full on, like power metal operatic vocals, and that's what I really like about him.
Yeah, he does that exceptionally well, and he does that a lot on this album.
Vocals.
Very consistent.
New Regal is probably the most complex song on the album, which I really like. There's like keyboards, acoustic guitars, electric guitars, catchy choruses, power metal vocals. I
remember liking that one too. That was a lot
of like effects that he uses on his vocals to give this kind of like 80s like Blade Runner cyberpunk kind of vibe for what they're kind of trying to get in some of these songs. It's like little 1984 Orwellian kind of things in the lyrics, like how the dangers of government intrusion into one song, like which really kind of speaks to a lot of people today too. Like that kind of stuff was being talked about in the 80s, which was kind of cool and kind of like progressive, like for the time, as far as like lyrical content wasn't just kind of like, oh baby, 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 I want to go party with you on one end, and then the other end you had Ronnie James Dio, who was singing like about who knows what,
like fantasy stuff and
fantasy stuff, but like always, like his lyrics were always very like an allegory for something else. If you know what I mean, like, and these guys are talking about like, well, like I said, there's a song about artificial intelligence, government intrusion, political things, and being a creep. I'm gonna get close to is about being a creep. That's actually a cover. That's actually a cover of a song. That's
is it really?
Song. Yeah, it's actually a cover
of
like
I'd
a
be
new
curious
wave.
to hear the original.
Yeah, it doesn't sound much different, but yeah, that was their first and only video they released on MTV from this album. Was that song. And that's like, when I saw that, I was like, you gotta watch the video. The video's hilarious because it's very 80s. And they're dressed up very Renaissance-y on this album cover too. It's a weird album, and I haven't listened to it in a while until I gave it to you and I went back and checked it out, and I'm like, damn, it's good. It is.
It's just so musically consistent. It's just so good. Yeah. I was really blown away by it.
They have a run of 3 fantastic albums. It starts with this one, Rage for Order, Operation Mindcrime, Empire. Then from there, kind of dips a little bit for the next like 2 or 3 albums. Then it goes way down. It goes way down.
That's a shame, because I feel like they could have easily been one of like the tyrants of metal if they just kept up with their consistent content.
They have a lot of albums, but they're just so. The main thing, in my opinion, what happened with Queensryche was their guitar player Chris DeGarmo quit. When he left, it seemed to me that the songwriting kind of dropped a little.
So who knows? Maybe is he credited for writing some of the earlier stuff?
Oh yeah.
Well, there you go. Never mind. You can't even really speculate. It's just provable fact. Like, all right, he was a part of the band's sound that was really good, and when he left, that part of it left as well.
Unfortunately, but until they got rid of Jeff Tate and they got the new singer in Todd LaTorre, who sounds just like Jeff Tate, and I think they did 2 albums with him, 2 or 3. I heard the latest one called The Verdict, and we may have to do a homework assignment on that one because that one was pretty damn good.
Okay.
But we'll have to see. I got a lot of other things planned. So.
Well, good. Yeah, we definitely have a lot more we could keep doing. We could keep checking out new stuff.
Of course.
There's always music.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah. I'm glad I could introduce you to like, old school Queensryche. Like that was like, like you even said, like back in the 80s and when I was a young teenager back then, this was like the exception to the rule. This album was, like there wasn't a lot of bands that were doing this kind of thing that weren't like prog rock bands. There was a lot of metal bands that would play with these musical structures that were complex, or at least getting more complex. They were a different band. They were like Iron Maiden, kind of but they were, Iron Maiden from Seattle. That's Queensryche.
Yeah, I dig it. That's really cool.
Good, man. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad because I am never sure when I give you something if it's gonna hit right or if it's just nostalgia speaking for me.
Yeah.
So
and there were definitely a number of times where I know you gave me like an album that you like were totally convinced that I was gonna love that I totally didn't, and vice versa. Like, oh, he's gonna hate this, and like, oh, it's actually pretty good. My tastes are really strange, and they're very specific. But.
It's okay. These exercises in looking back on albums and checking out albums we've never checked out before, it's really cool. It introduces me to a lot of new stuff too, which is great. And we can talk about so many things, and maybe next podcast we'll talk about what's new and what's coming out, because man, that new Howard Jones song that dropped today, and that's not something I usually listen to. Did you listen to it yet?
I didn't listen to it. I saw that you posted it, and I thought that was really interesting.
Oh my God!
I didn't see it until right before we hopped on for the podcast, so I didn't get a chance to listen to it yet. I'm gonna do that as soon as we're done.
That dude can fucking sing, man.
Well, I could have told you that. He's one of the best.
So good. All right, so wrap it up for me, my man.
Go listen to Spock's Beard, and if you haven't heard the earlier Queensryche albums, go listen to them as well. We've done one of our first listening bits way back when we first started. This was on Operation Mindcrime. So if you haven't seen that episode, go check it out. I dissect it. Jeff gives you all the background, and we talk about it for quite a bit. I think we might have even revisited it in another episode too. I know that's one I definitely listened to a couple times after having it as an assignment. So check those things out. If you're not into Queensryche, those will definitely, if they don't make you a Queensryche fan, nothing will, because they're amazing. So go listen to the stuff we're talking about, and keep finding new music. You know, talk to your friends, see what they're into, share albums. You know, the more that we consume this all this great content, the more that these bands get recognized, and the more they generate momentum and notoriety, and that can lead to even more albums being produced. So support the bands, listen to their music, hop on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever it is, whatever platform you use it every day, and listen to stuff, and keep on rocking.